Hi, everybody. We are about ready to get the business meeting going, but I'm getting a signal from the back of the room. For anyone who's within earshot out in the lobby, it's time to come on in for the business meeting if you want. So thanks everyone for coming. For those of you who have already participated in some of our events and for everything that's going to come. I have the pleasure of introducing the boss, our division director, Roz Hargraves, who's going to open up the business meeting before the STEM team takes over. I'm Mike Farrar. I'm one of the STEM co-leads. I've had the pleasure of working together with the AAAS team to help get this whole shindig put together. And as you'll hear many times, they were tremendous to work with. And I think that you will see the fruits of all of their labors over the course of the next few days. So as I said, it's my pleasure to introduce Roz, who's been our division director for a little bit more than a year now, since August of last year. Roz comes to us from Virginia Commonwealth University, just a little bit down the road. She's a professor of electrical and computer engineering, but really, as you will hear when she speaks, and anyone who knows her, she is much, much more than that. So she is a distinguished engineer. She has published numerous papers and has several patents. She is a scholar both of engineering and of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and a tremendous leader. She challenges us every day to not just think about the work we do, but who we do it for. And that's really what this meeting is all about. It's about the scholars and all the work that you're doing to lift them up. And in a lot of ways, Roz keeps us centered on that mission every minute of every day. So just a little bit more about Roz. She got her bachelor's, master's, and PhD from the University of Virginia in electrical engineering. She's been at VCU for over 25 years and has held a number of leadership positions. I'll just give you a few highlights. So she's been the Associate Vice President for Inclusive Excellence, the Director of several international partnerships with VCU, the Associate Dean in the College of Engineering, and an interim co-chair for the School of Education and the Department of Teaching and Learning. The School of Education Department of Teaching and Learning, I apologize. So without any further ado, let's welcome Roz Hargraves.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, with the lights here, it's kind of hard to see you all, but I saw y'all before the lights came up and in my eyes. So it is my pleasure. Thank you, Mike, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you for being a part of an amazing team that we have at the National Science Foundation and the Division of Undergraduate Education. So it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2022 STEM Symposium. We are delighted that you can join us here in person, and for those of you who are virtually, for what promises to be an insightful and stimulating conference. This gathering convenes stakeholders from across the STEM higher ed community, all focused on efforts to broaden participation in STEM, particularly for our highly talented, low-income students from diverse backgrounds. We celebrate how you embrace the unique suite of talents that our students from low-income backgrounds bring and align these talents with the changing needs of the global workforce. As our new Assistant Director, Dr. James Moore says, from whom you will hear from later today, he has this profound saying that I take to heart: great minds come from every zip code. Great minds come from every zip code. And the STEM program embodies that saying. I commend you for your work in bringing our missing millions, those who have been missing in the STEM enterprise, but who must and should be there, or should and must be there. Those voices whose perspectives are critical to advancing STEM. As STEM PIs, you're moving us forward to our goals of developing a workforce that is diverse, innovative, and prepared to advance science and engineering and increasing STEM literacy in our broader community. Thank you for the great work you are doing, and thank you for all that you have done for all of our students. We're looking forward to hearing your best ideas to address the STEM education challenges for the future. When I came to NSF, I came with 4 pillars: access, equity, excellence, and innovation. Your work embodies all 4 of these pillars. You're increasing access to STEM by providing the financial and programmatic supports for some of our most vulnerable students. You're promoting equity by ensuring that the voices that may have been omitted or marginalized in the past are present and engaged now in STEM. You are forging innovative programs that are transforming your departments and shifting the paradigm of traditional STEM education, all while maintaining an extremely high bar of excellence. And as you look around this room, I know it's dark out there, but as you look around this room, and for those of you who are online, you are not doing this alone. We are in this work together. And one of the biggest champions of this work at the National Science Foundation is our lead program officer, Dr. Alex Medina Borja, who I would like to acknowledge at this time today, along with her colleagues who co-lead this work, Mike Farrar, who you heard from earlier today, Mindy Capaldi, Thomas Kim, and Jasmine Hill. There are so many others at NSF who make this program possible, so thank you to the entire STEM team for managing the program and for your commitment to supporting the needs of our low-income students. Now, Alex, I see you standing there, but I have a little more to say, so is it okay if I keep on going? All right. So, since its founding, the NSF's Scholarships in STEM program has made a significant impact on the quality and accessibility of STEM education. The accomplishments and successes of the STEM program are truly impressive. And I had to take a double take because I was like, really? 3,000 awards and over 100,000 low-income students from across the nation have been funded and supported through this program over the last 16 years. Isn't that impressive? So like you, we in STEM are continuing to innovate. I am delighted to share with you the STEM program recently awarded its largest investment to date to create a resource and evaluation center, which will foster a network of STEM stakeholders, build capacity by providing technical assistance, and provide professional development to the network of scholars, and opportunities to generate and disseminate new knowledge, successful practice, and effective design principles arising from all of our STEM projects from across the nation. This past year, we also funded our first STEM Hub Awards in response to the STEM Net solicitation, which aims to build a robust national ecosystem to support STEM students in achieving their career goals. These awards bring together PIs from across multiple institutions to investigate questions around a particular topic and theme that is critical to the success of domestic low-income STEM students. They are tackling issues such as addressing organizational barriers that significantly affect first-time in college and transfer engineering students, examining how co-equitable partnerships between institution types can better support low-income scholars before and after the transition process between our 2-year and 4-year institutions. They are addressing barriers faced by low-income students by investigating ways to support students who have inadequate or inequitable access to food, clothing, food, housing, and other essentials. The hubs are creating alliances across HBCUs, 2-year institutions, 4-year institutions, MSIs, PUIs, and a host of institution types. MSIs, minority-serving institutions, PUIs, predominantly undergraduate institutions, HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. When you live at NSF, when you work at NSF, acronyms just kind of roll off the tongue. So I try to be mindful of that. I know Alex will talk more about this in her presentation, but I just want to say that it is this work that will continue to transform STEM education so that the ultimate vision of this STEM program is achievable, that all Americans, regardless of their economic status, should be able to contribute to the American innovation economy if they so desire. Your STEM projects are critical to our nation's immediate priorities. STEM is essential for addressing the need for high-quality STEM workforce in areas of national need. So like advancing economic development, as we recognize the role that the STEM program can play. Earlier this month actually, early September, we announced an endeavor with Intel Corporation to educate and train the nation's semiconductor and manufacturing workforce and advance opportunities for equitable STEM education. Intel and NSF will invest $10 million to provide funding to support the development of high-quality manufacturing workforce at all levels of production and innovation, as described in our Dear Colleague letter, or referred to as a DCL, NSF 22120. Projects funded through that Dear Colleague letter will focus on the semiconductor industry workforce for high technology fields and are critical to the future of semiconductor design. So for those of you who are interested, you can apply to the STEM program and to ATE, our Advanced Technological Education Program, with this DCL in mind. So by ensuring that anyone from any economic background in any part of the country who has the talent or desire to pursue a STEM education is given an opportunity and support that they need to, STEM is promoting a STEM workforce that pulls from the nation's full talent pool. Every community has people who can succeed in STEM careers but have not been afforded the opportunity or obtain the resources to support and pursue a career in STEM. And we want to address that. Not want to, we are addressing that. Your projects are important and critical to NSF. STEM is the only program at the National Science Foundation that focuses on low-income students. And through supporting scholarships, curricular and co-curricular activities, STEM projects are increasing student success and the retention of retention at our nation's institutions. So I'll just close by saying, I'm going to scroll on down because I know Alex is here, so I'm going to bring her on up. We have witnessed your perseverance amidst tremendous challenges in the last few years, and we are confident that you will carry the STEM program forward to reach new heights. This is especially important at a time when education can sometimes seem like a luxury. It seems like there are other more essential things that our students are worried about, like when families are trying to stretch their dollars to cover food, housing, gas. Higher ed seems like, oh, well, we can't really afford this, but it is your work and your projects that are making the dream and opportunity to go to college and to afford college a reality for so many of our students. Today and tomorrow, you will have the opportunity to listen to several inspiring speakers and participate in workshops and browse the incredible suite of STEM projects. I hope you take advantage of these opportunities and will attend those sessions. I will ask you, though, to think about a couple of things as you are going through. And I want to make sure I give you these questions. Yes, I am a professor at heart, and I do give homework. So, I want you to ask yourselves, how can the programs you've established, beyond the scholarships, because I know the scholarship money is coming from NSF, but there are lots of other types of supports that you have created within your programs, how can these programs be institutionalized? Your project is extremely meaningful to the students whose lives we touch. But now the next challenge is, how do we transform not just our programs for our students and relate it to your specific grant, but how do we transform the programs in our entire school, in our entire college, and in our entire department? This is an important movement. Remember, 3,000 projects, 100,000 students, but there's so many more out there that can benefit from the types of wraparound supports and curricular supports that you are designing and implementing in your projects. So please just think about that, like how can we institutionalize this? So I'll just close, and yes, I'm looking for my last page. I'll close by saying thank you again for all of your efforts to inspire students to engage in STEM. We appreciate that you continue to do this valuable work and hope you enjoy the opportunity to learn from one another at this conference. This conference is convened by our colleagues at the AAAS STEM Initiative, I want to extend a special thank you to Dr. Iris Wagstaff and Allison Gonzalez and the entire AAAS team for convening this event. Thank you all for all you do. Organizing this two-day conference, actually it's like 2 half-days and a full-day conference, is no small task, and we recognize all that work that they went into organizing it. So now, Alex, I'm ready to bring you up. I am delighted. See, that's what happens. That's like the woman pulling me off the stage. So, I am delighted now to introduce Dr. Alexandra Medina Borgia, who is the STEM program lead and a huge, huge, huge champion for the STEM program. Alex, thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Thank you. Okay, so I need to, so how do I advance the slides? Clicker. I don't see it. This one? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so let me, so good afternoon, and obviously I am Alex Medina Borja. I am much shorter than, so let me adjust this a little bit. I joined Rose and everybody else before me, welcoming all of you, PIs, co-PIs, scholars in particular, evaluators and administrators, as well as those all aspiring PIs and friends of STEM that join us today. Whether you are here joining us live in this our first meeting in 3 years, a hybrid meeting, but I am delighted to see you in 3D. Some of you I have only seen on Zoom, some others the first time, so thank you for being here. Or joining us virtually, whether because you couldn't travel or because of other circumstances. Thank you for being here. I am really thrilled to be leading the STEM program at this time, a time of adaptation and a time in which we are trying to strengthen the program to face the challenges and opportunities not only of the 21st century, but of a STEM education ecosystem that is changing rapidly. After a I don't know if we can say a post-pandemic war, but really after so many man-made and natural disasters. The job of the educators is really difficult, and it has been impacted by so many things in the last few years that it makes really, really important the work that you are doing today. So I want to recognize the commitment of educators in 3 circumstances in particular. Those who are attending today, including my colleagues from Puerto Rico, who made the effort to be here today after Hurricane Fiona impacted the island 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, and leaving many of them, actually the professors who are here, without electricity and running water, as well as the colleagues that could not join us today, but wanted to be here from Florida and other parts that are being impacted by Hurricane Ian. And I hope if some of you may be watching us virtually, I do hope and we all hope that you are safe. And I also want to, not introduce, but to recognize those that wanted to be here and that are probably watching us virtually because you got sick just before boarding your plane. So thank you. These are really challenging times. I hope that by the end of this presentation, you learn a little bit more about the state of the program and our vision for the future. We'll have plenty of time for Q&A at the end, but first, I really want, and I'm reading because I don't want to forget anybody, to take a few minutes to introduce the people who make SSTEM and this meeting happen. You have heard already about our AAAS colleagues. So I ask that as I name you, as you stand up to be recognized. So to formally begin with my wonderful team of SSTEM colleagues. My colleagues, Dr. Tom Kim, Dr. Mindy Kapaldik, if you can stand, please, and Dr. Mai Ferrara, who you already met, as well. Oh, I have to, sorry, I'm forgetting. Do I do this? This, okay. Okay, and as well as our wonderful science assistant, Catherine Prunella, and Nabria Horton and Jasmine Hill, who are not here today, but all of them helped me manage the program on a day-to-day basis. Today, I also want to give particular thanks to Mike, as he took upon himself the responsibility of coordinating the organization of this event with the AAAS team. So to Mike, to Dr. Iris Wagstaff, please stand up, Alison Gonzalez, I don't know where she is, and to our wonderful science assistant, Catherine, thank you. They worked for months to get us here today. And I ask all of you to please give them a round of applause. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, so now I want to also introduce the amazing team of SSTEM program officers, and please, they are all around the room, please stand up. So I have several pictures because we are many of us. And so, so they are, at any moment in time, we have 20 plus 25 program officers, all with different areas of expertise, some from biology, math, computer science, engineering, social sciences, you name it. Several of them also come from different types of institutions, different regions of the country. I ask you to get to know your program officer. They are your allies. They are there to answer your questions. So please, if not during this meeting, make sure that you give them a call, send them an email, set up a time to meet them. Their names are here, and let me see if I have more. Okay, no, those, and also, you know, on our webpage. Okay, so I don't want to take a long time, so it is just really an honor for me to be addressing you today. I am sure that you agree with me and with Rose that this vision of SSTEM, that all Americans, regardless of their zip code, should be able to contribute to the innovation economy, is a powerful proposition, and the reason why we all love to be engaged as part of this promise. As you know by now, and I'm not going to bore you with the history of SSTEM, but SSTEM was an act of Congress. In 1998, Congress decided that a percentage of the H-1B visa fees that are paid by foreign workers that want to work in the United States should come to us to fund American low-income students achieve their STEM dreams. So the goal has remained the same, so to enable low-income, talented students to achieve their successful careers. And so what I want now is to take a few minutes to just talk about the changes that we have implemented in the last few years. And while the scholarship amount has remained the same, and is determined, both the scholarship and duration of the scholarships is determined by Congress, we have emphasized several aspects that I want to share. For example, we have emphasized that we really want you to tailor the support of the students to their needs and their context. We have, and Catherine will tell you, projects in almost every region and every state. And so obviously, if a low-income student in the border with Texas with Mexico will have very different needs probably as a student in Montana. And so we really want you to know your students and to really emphasize their needs. We also made it clear in the last 2 years that SSTEM is a last dollar scholarship. And so if we have some financial aid officers here, they will know exactly what I mean, because this is financial aid jargon. What it means is that the first thing is that we ask UPIs to have a very close relationship with your financial aid office. They are the ones that will make the calculations to let you know what is the unmet need of each student after all grants and scholarships have been applied, excluding work and excluding loans particularly. And that's the definition of a last dollar scholarship. So going forward, projects cannot simply say we're going to give $2,000 to each student. You have to meet the unmet need of the student up to $10,000, which is the maximum. The other thing that we are asking you is to support these students along their entire academic journey, if possible. So the data, the evidence shows us that the students need support from the freshman year to the senior, and their needs change. So some projects, and I know some of you, are actually even paying for the graduation fees. For low-income students, getting to the senior year sometimes is not equivalent to graduation because they don't have the fees to pay to actually graduate. So I ask you that you really evaluate the whole journey of the students. Another aspect is really that we want you to now demonstrate, if you are a new proposer, that you have historically served low-income students and show us the numbers that are comparable to what you are requesting in your budget. So demonstrate that you have enough students for the degree programs proposed by the time of the proposal submission. So that's another change. This is not a change, but we are emphasizing cohort formation as a support mechanism. Having social activities is important and is good, but what we mean by cohort is that every scholar has at least one friend in the same discipline with whom he or she can study together. And someone that is a peer that understands their socioeconomical situation and that also understands the disciplinary, the academic part of the challenge. Then the last meeting that we had, which was a virtual one last year, I shared that we eliminated the research component requirement from track 1s and track 2s to focus them really in scholarship-intensive activities in the support of the students. Track 1s and track 2s still generate knowledge, but now using a very strong evaluation and assessment component. And finally, this is really a big change in the last cycle, is that we modified the definition of what is STEM eligible. The eligible disciplines were expanded to degrees in those fields where NSF has funded research in the past. That includes now, by definition, all the social, economic, and behavioral sciences that were excluded in the past. We still exclude the clinical sciences because clinical sciences are funded by NIH majorly and not by us. We also excluded the business administration and any degree leading to teaching licensure because those are funded by NOIS. So to align ourselves with the legislation and Congress' intention of workforce development for the innovation economy, we added a requirement that proposers need to demonstrate that those degrees that are going to be awarded are in demand and are in areas of national need for the country. So we want to develop the STEM workforce in areas of strategic importance, and that's why we added that. So that's about that. I just want to share with you that I think this is public information, that in 2022 was the year that we received, in the last 10 years at least, the largest allocation of funds. What that meant is that in one single year, we made over 150 awards. And so we are really happy with that, and Catherine will go deeper in our portfolio today. So to foster this community, which is right now, at any point in time, we have had over 500 projects, active projects. But right now we have 650 projects, which is a de facto network, as we were saying. So as Ross said, we funded the Research and Evaluation Center, a partnership between AAAS, the American Institute for Research, and QM and others. And you will hear about the REC in few minutes, about their vision. We also funded 5 research hubs and to focus the research at a larger scale on the factors that influence low-income student success. And the idea is that the REC and the hubs will form synergies with all of you, with the community of SSTEM, PIs, and projects. And so I encourage you to get involved and collaborate with them. One of the activities, this is almost my last thing, that I'm most excited is that the REC will, for the first time in the last 34 years of existence of the SSTEM, will organize an annual meeting of scholars, focus on the scholars, on the needs of the scholars and for the scholars. So that's, I really hope that if there are any scholars at this moment in the audience, that they attend the listening session to communicate what are the things that they would like to see as part of this new meeting that we'll have annually. So as I think I have one more slide. Yeah, so as you see, we are utilizing this solid historical foundation to build what we envision to be a national network that focuses exclusively on the success of low-income students in STEM. And so I want now to ask Catherine to share the summary of our portfolio. I just want to give a little bit of advertising. Catherine is a marine scientist and an oceanographer herself and prepared this overview. And then after that, we will introduce the SSTEM Net PIs. We will talk about a little bit of engagement with the community, and then we'll open for your Q&A. Catherine.
Hello. I'm going to very briefly take us through a few slides that give a snapshot of the STEM Award portfolio. I'm going to have to look somewhere to see these slides. Okay, so starting off with a slide that shows the STEM Awards that have been made since 2006, broken down by the institution types. To the left is a pie chart with the degree granting of the institutions. So the takeaway here is that STEM supports all types of institutions, from 2-year associate granting community colleges to doctoral granting. STEM has predominantly funded public institutions and also funds private institutions. So looking at the institutions STEM has funded since 2006 in terms of their minority serving institution status, specifically for HSIs, Hispanically serving institutions, HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, PBIs, predominantly Black institutions, and TCUs, tribal colleges and universities. So to the left is a figure that shows the STEM award portfolio, and to the right are these MSIs, these minority serving institutions, their national distributions. And so you can see that STEM funds these MSIs in proportion to their national distribution. In fact, we fund more HSIs proportionally compared to national distributions. And now looking at geography, so STEM strives to have a balanced award portfolio in terms of institution type and in terms of geography. So since 2006, we've had an STEM award in every state and 2 territories, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Looking just at the active awards, so STEM awards that have not yet expired and are currently ongoing, we have an active STEM award in nearly every state. There is an opportunity there in Wyoming, and in Pacific Islands, there are opportunities for funding. But yeah, we strive again to have an STEM award and everywhere across this nation. And just to show you my last slide, this is a slide that shows STEM awards by track since 2017. So in 2017, the STEM solicitation shifted from calling it strands to tracks. The y-axis are the number of awards, and then these different color bars are different years. The first thing I see is the green bar, so that's what Alex alluded to. That represents 2022 and the 160 awards that we were able to make. Overall, STEM typically funds around 100 awards per year, some more, some less, obviously. To the far right, you can see the total. Another takeaway from this is that STEM typically funds more Track 2 awards than Tracks 1 and 3. And we want to see that number keep going up. So this was just a brief little snapshot of STEM's award portfolio. If you have any questions, this is all information from the public NSF award search that you could go on if you want to look more. I'm going to pass this over to Tom, one of STEM's co-leads, who's going to introduce STEMnet. While Tom is walking over, I'll encourage you to use the Whova app if you have any questions for the business meeting. Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to see all of you here. I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing you to the STEMnet arm of the STEM program. This is an effort that was recently instituted in the 2021 fiscal year. And as Alex alluded, the aim is actually to provide the STEM community with a new set of resources and infrastructure to help us better understand all of the things that are going on out there in the STEM landscape and to leverage them to improve the situation moving forward. And so we have the STEM Rec, which was awarded just this past year to AAAS, and numerous other partners. I've just included the lead program numbers. And I ask you to note the actual award numbers because it's actually kind of difficult to parse them out from the information as it's logged in the NSF awards database. So if you do a search, they're not that easy to get to. So I tried to collate all the numbers here, so if anybody needs to fish out a particular award, there's only 6 numbers that you need to keep track of here as opposed to the thousands of numbers that are associated with STEM writ large. I'm going to ask all of the representatives of the REC and hubs to come up here so that we can sort of do a quick introduction to all of them. As I said earlier, the REC is an award made to AAAS and numerous other partners. And the REC, as Alex alluded, is going to be organizing a scholar conference. But in addition to that, from your perspective as PIs, the REC will become the fundamental clearinghouse for all information pertinent to STEM and low-income students in the STEM space. So that's going to be an exciting development for the community. And then with respect to the research hubs, their awards are all focused on truly analyzing conditions and variables within the low-income STEM scholar space to better inform the community as to where we need to be going next. And each of them is actually looking at a very particular slice of the space. So if you find that you hear from one of these brief descriptions something that aligns with your STEM project, write down their name, write down their award number, and send them an email because you probably have data they might be interested in looking at. And so the synergies that Alex talked about are hopefully going to arise to some degree out of what you might hear very briefly this afternoon. I'll also add that later on throughout the scope of the conference, they'll be holding workshop sessions or plenary sessions, and so you'll have opportunities to sort of sit down and gab with them and see maybe if there might be some future collaborations in the works for all of you. So without further ado, we have the first hub from Temple University, and our Temple rep is not here, and with travel being one. Oh, no worries. Didn't see you on the stage. I got worried. Followed by our University of Nebraska team, the Virginia Tech team, the QEM team, and the Rutgers team. And I'm going to ask each of you to come up and basically talk about what slice of the low-income STEM scholar space your project is interested in so that anybody out there that resides in that space might know to look you up later. So, from Temple, and introduce yourselves because there's a lot of names on all those proposals.
Hi, I'm Jamie Payton. I'm from Temple University, and I'm representing the research hub on supporting low-income students, especially for non-tuition expenses. And this is a project that is supported by the Hope Center for Real College. And if you'd like to know more, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Wendy Smith from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I'm representing the Prospect STEM Hub, which is practices and research on student pathways in education for community college and transfer students in STEM. And so our particular slice is looking at how two-year colleges and four-year colleges can partner together in co-equitable ways that kind of disrupt and challenge some of the past inequitable kind of power dynamics and be able to support students better. Because we know that as we're trying to diversify the STEM workforce, trying to really strengthen and support students between 2- and 4-year colleges is a great way to work. We're going to be doing about 25 case studies over the next couple years, and so if your STEM project has both 2- and 4-year partners, come talk to us. We would love to get you involved. And I'll just say we have a lot of people already involved. We have 9 STEM projects, and it represents 22 2- and 4-year different colleges across the country.
Hi, everybody. My name is David Knight. I'm a faculty member at Virginia Tech. Also have colleagues here from Weber State University, University of Cincinnati, and Northern Virginia Community College. Part of our organizational partnerships STEM Research Hub, we're interested in understanding how partnerships both within an institution and between institutions can be designed, built, sustained, and institutionalized over time, specifically focused on engineering and computer science contexts. One of the elements or activities we're really excited about is a research accelerator grant program. So if you have an STEM program in that space and are interested in collaborating, we'll be recruiting cohorts each of the next couple of years. Also want to highlight that the hubs have a workshop tomorrow in this room at 1:15. So please come if you want to learn more about all the hubs. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivory Tosa. I'm a professor at Howard University. I'm also a research associate with the QEM Network and the National Director of Education for the NAACP. I'm the principal investigator of the Research Hub for HBCUs. 78% of HBCU students are Pell eligible, but although they accommodate a large majority of low-income students, they do a disproportionately well job of graduating students who go on to get their advanced degrees in STEM. In fact, of the top 50 institutions for graduating Black students that go on to get their PhDs in STEM, 22 of them are HBCUs. So our research hub looks at HBCUs that have STEM awards and coordinates them in a community of practice to do research on their students to understand what HBCUs are doing right and how we can look at that and understand it in a way that can make a contribution to the field. So we'll have our workshop on Saturday morning, so you can come to our workshop to learn a little bit more about what we're doing, and looking forward to working with all of you.
Okay. I'm going to speak on behalf of Rutgers University, the lead of the last of the hubs, because looks like they might have had some travel snags. The Rutgers project is actually interested in looking at community college persistence, specifically with a decision-making architecture, and seeing how that actually can be leveraged to improve outcomes for students that are, oh, I'm so sorry, Michelle.
That was perfect. Maybe I don't need to do
Go
anything.
ahead.
Sorry. That sounded a lot like the hub I'm doing. I'm Michelle Van Noy from Rutgers. As Tom said, our project is focused on community colleges, and we're looking at students, and particularly how students navigate pathways, make decisions about entering into a STEM program, entering into an STEM scholarship program, staying with it, and how they think about their career trajectories ultimately and where they want to go. So we're looking at all elements of what you all are doing in terms of how it impacts students in their decision-making process and their pathways. I have many partners on this project, but we're co-leading with the Foundation for California Community Colleges, University of South Florida, and University of Washington, as well as others. But we're all working together kind of with 3 main goals. One is to develop a network of folks who are interested in engaging with these questions with us. So we want to have a community of learning around these questions as we do our research. We have a couple of years of kind of more targeted research to better understand student decision-making within STEM. And then we want, in the later parts of the grant, to partner with you all in terms of identifying other research questions that will help us inform these questions and build partnerships. And there's lots more which we'll share tomorrow. So thank you.
All right. Last minute.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Travis York from the AAAS. You will get to hear more from us about the AAAS STEM REC, or Resources and Evaluation Center, at tomorrow's lunch plenary. We'll actually be hosting a listening session during that lunch plenary, specifically to get feedback from all of you to help inform the launch and the first year of REC activities coming up. Please make note of it if you'd like to attend and give us your feedback. We definitely need that. There will be two other opportunities for you to consider as well, but I hope we get a lot of feedback from you all. The REC, as you might have heard, or if you looked at the solicitation at all, primarily serves, as Alex mentioned, to do two primary things. One of those things is to provide a present community for all of the current and future awardees, helping in particular to support the capacity building of current and future programs, and taking kind of deep dives into work around how do STEM programs most effectively recruit students, how do they retain students, provide success, really leveraging the learning from your programs across the community. We'll be doing that in a couple different ways. The other primary activity that the REC will be doing is, as Alex and Tom mentioned, is that we'll start serving, in this next year, we'll start offering an annual scholars conference, an annual scholars summit. And we'll be supporting at least 1,000 scholars, your scholarship recipients, to come to a summit where we'll really be investing in them with professional development, industry connections, helping support, as so many of you do, the continued progress and success of those scholars. One final piece of activity that the REC will be doing, which we're really, really excited about, is really doing an in-depth research on the impact and outcomes of STEM scholarships, current and beyond the current program. And so we're really, really excited to leverage that information to feed information back into the community to continue your efforts and hopefully maximize those. So again, we'll be having a listening session tomorrow during the lunch plenary. I think Tom mentioned this as well, but we do have several partners in the REC, and in particular, I want to give a shout out to Quality Education for Minorities Network, or QEM, the American Institutes on Research, and our CERCE is our external evaluator out of the University of Washington. So we're really excited about all of those partners joining us in this work.
All right, thank you all. And my guffaws aside, please do make note of anyone that raised a light bulb, might have triggered a thought for collaboration. And please note that all these folks will be around for the rest of the conference. That is the new STEM Net. And we hope that it is in service to all of you, because understanding the situation only helps us to inform how the program should move forward and how each of you can really do more to help the low-income scholars that you are serving. And so I hope that it is a benefit to the community. Without any further ado, we're going to circle back to Mike Ferrara, and we are going to open up the floor for some Q&A. Not quite yet. Okay. I stand corrected, as I have seemed to be doing a lot today. So thank you all.
Hi, everyone. Every time I hear about the net, I get excited. I can't lie. This is a big deal for the program. I just wanted to very quickly expand a little bit on what Travis was sharing with us, that tomorrow we're very excited, as one of the opportunities during lunch, that there will be a listening session. That's going to be focused primarily on the REC and its activities, but also on the STEM space in general. And this is the opening of, over the next few months, what our team is hoping to do to engage the community a little bit more. Those of you who have talked to me have probably heard me say one of the maxims that we have in STEM is that if you've met one low-income student, you've met one low-income student. As you all know, it doesn't matter if they go to the same school, it doesn't matter if they live in the same place. Every story is different. You do a tremendous amount of hard work. You're incredibly innovative. I say all the time, one of the best things about being at the NSF is getting to interact with the smartest people in the country, who who are doing the most amazing work to support students. So we're going to want to hear a little bit more from you if you have a little bit of time. So keep your eyes and ears open. We're hoping to have a few listening sessions that will be open to the public, will be facilitated. We're going to break people down into slightly smaller groups as part of that. We're also hoping to convene some focus groups. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from everyone who's part of your team. So as you'll hear from us when the announcements come out, we want you to bring your colleagues from financial aid, from your student success organizations more broadly at your institutions. We want to know what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what's working, what isn't working for your low-income students. This is what we live and breathe in the STEM program. And the last 3 years have been tough. We know that. They've been tough for everyone. But they've uncovered a lot of things that maybe we knew and maybe we didn't about how our low-income students interact with our institutions, with our programs, with their learning. And we want to know a lot more about that. It's going to hopefully help the way we think about the work we do, the way that we support you, and what the future might bring for STEM. So I just wanted to tell you that obviously that's not going to start and end with some listening sessions or focus groups. You have our ears throughout this entire meeting. You have our ears at any other point. As Alex said, we are your biggest supporters. We clap for you, we cheer for you, we cry with you when things aren't going the way you want. And we want to hear everything you learn, and we want to hear everything you know. So don't ever be afraid to just drop us a line. We love everything you tell us in your annual reports. They are richly descriptive. They make it so clear, all of the work that you're doing. But we want there to be a conversation, not just now, but going forward, as there has been in the past, around the work you're doing so that we can support you better and we can support your scholars better. So with that, now I believe I'm going to call up the rest of the co-leads, and we are going to open the floor for Q&A. Travis is going to be facilitating any questions that come in from Huva. So you'll be able to go to the mics, but also you can submit questions through Huva, whether you're here or whether you're participating with us virtually. We're going to try to get to as many of those as we can, and we'll keep an eye on any Q&As that come in through Huva that we can't get to going forward, and we'll try to answer every possible thing we can. So, all right. So, Travis, I don't know if while people filter up to the mics, if there's anything in the app at this point that you want to start with?
There is. I'm going to start with one very easy question from our virtual question asking. By the way, if you're in Huva or if you find it easier to ask your questions live or virtually in that space, there's another cool feature where you can upvote questions. So if you see somebody else's question that you really want to raise up to us, please feel free to thumbs up it. The other thing is that if you see somebody ask a question for resources, you all can actually respond to each other in the Q&A and provide helpful links and things like that. So one of the first questions is, will these slides be made available? You should be prepared for that question. It's like every Zoom question, right? Will these slides from the business meeting be made available? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I think you can answer that. Yeah, yes, there will be.
Yes. Yes, they will be. So we will make sure that you all get a copy and can use it. There's a lot of useful information. The other more substantive question is also from our virtual audience, and that is, will STEM hubs work with STEM projects as well as includes alliances? NSF includes alliances.
That's up to the hubs. Yes, we encourage. That's. It's part of the hub's work. I don't know exactly, in what circumstances, but of course it's focused on low-income student success. Remember that Congress, one of Congress's conditions for these funds is that you cannot select students based on any other socio-demographic characteristic, but that they are low-income students. So low-income students of any race. And so, they can partner with the Includes Alliances, of course.
Do you want to go to a mic?
Sorry, Claire Duggan from Northeastern University. I actually asked that question, and I'm just very curious in terms of, again, the hubs. Many of you are targeting specific either transfer pathways or disciplines. Clearly, the Includes Alliances are also, many of them are focused on very specific either transition points or disciplines. I myself am tied to the Engineering Plus Includes Alliance. And I do think it would really be valuable, again, for perhaps a more focused, even a virtual meeting for the STEM hubs to connect with all of the regional alliances, to look at opportunities for collaboration and the acceleration of sharing of evidence-based practices. So I've just kind of opened the hubs up to thinking about that and how we can more intentionally break down the silos of individual NSF projects.
Yeah, and you know, the hubs have a session, so I encourage you to come to the session and start those conversations, yes.
And that's tomorrow at 1:30. We have another virtual question.
Oh, Travis, just one
Yep,
second.
Mike?
I'll just say that, like any program, we encourage you to put your heads together. We will consider, conference proposals of the type that was described. We don't. That's not a huge part of what STEM does. But if a group of projects want to come together and propose a conference or workshop with a theme along the lines of what was described or something else, our ears are always open.
With 5 upvotes by our audience, by the way, just plug in those options here. I am a new PI. I saw a comment about meetings for programs that are due for third-year reviews. Do third-year reviews usually happen here at the conference?
Mike, do you want to?
So often, yes. Things got a little bit out of sync because of the pandemic and some of the hiccups. So a few folks are undergoing 4th or 5th year review this year. But typically, yes, we sync up 3rd year reviews to happen in concert with the PI meeting. That may mean you actually undergo your formal 3rd year review in your 4th year under even normal circumstances. Just so that you know, the 3rd year review is not an adversarial process, right? So what it entails this year is presenting a poster or participating in a small group discussion with your peers, which is really mostly the peers talking. The program officers are just there to sort of help the conversation along if we're even needed, and we found that we generally are not. If you have a Track 3 award, there's a reverse site visit process that is a little bit more intensive. Also not adversarial, but we have a much more detailed and specific list of questions because those are large investments, and that will, you can always reach out to your program officer about that. But typically, yes, 3rd year reviews will happen at the PI meeting or around the PI meeting, and will be something along the lines of what we've done. We tweak the format so that it can be effective, but it's really just a chance for us to check in and make sure that we have at least some sort of conversation with every project at that critical midpoint.
Cap, as you mentioned, set by Congress at the $10,000 per year has been that way for a long, long time. And when I voiced that concern before with NSF officials, they said, well, you have to talk to your congressional representative. They're the only ones with the authority to raise that cap. With as many PIs as there are in the room and those watching online, is there anything that could be done perhaps during this meeting to leverage our voices to say perhaps we should link that to inflation or to the rising costs so that we can continue to support low-income students in an equitable way? Because many of these students are still getting the support, but there's still a significant gap in terms of how much they're having to afford to pay.
So we share your discomfort with the cap as it is currently constructed. Do I talk about chips?
The boss has to.
So the answer to that actually resides above my pay grade.
Yes.
So we're going to call Dr. Hargraves up to the stand.
Yeah. So we have definitely heard, and your congressional members have also heard your concerns. And in the most recent CHIPS legislation, some of you may be familiar with it, the CHIPS plus science legislation, exactly that point was brought to the fore. So we are working towards looking for solutions towards you. So I'll leave it at that. But we've heard you, and it is a concern that is heard and felt among the STEM team also. So.
Thank you. As you all know, there are many things that we cannot say, so that's why our faces.
Another virtual question that we have, actually regarding some of the research that you presented on the trends around the STEM portfolio. There's a question specifically, we had this really lovely, thank you, Catherine, for this really lovely pie graph that showed the distribution of awards across different types of institutions. In that slide, there was a 15% attribution to associates granting institutions, and the question was whether that is a percentage based upon count or number of awards, or is it a percentage around the amount of funding dollars to those types of institutions? I believe
number
it's
of awards.
Head count?
Yes, number of awards, yes. Mm-hmm. Any other?
Hamid Nourouzi from New York City College of Technology. My question is about the part-time and full-time students, and is there any flexibility in that regard?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So after the pandemic, or during the pandemic, we talked to our Office of Legislative Affairs, and so it was, and retroactively so, by the way, you can fund students that are part-time up to 50% or that, not less than 50%. So while in the past, many of you submitted proposals and got awards in solicitations that require that all students were full-time. So right now, we do allow you to give scholarships to students at the 50% or more. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So there was a related question. Travis, are you looking at it about disciplines?
Go for it.
Okay, there was a question, Raj just wanted to make sure we addressed it. As Alex mentioned, the new STEM solicitation last year expanded the footprint of disciplines in the program. We have been advised that while we were allowed, as Alex said, to look backwards for the part-time, so we can fund scholars that are part-time, even if that was not in the solicitation. The new footprint of disciplines is only open to projects funded last year and going forward. Okay, that was after some conversations with the legal team at NSF. So.
There is a question about the rec. If you don't mind, I'll both pose and answer. So there's a question about the planned scholars meeting being, will it be funded through the rec or by individual institutions, and is there a time of the year that it will be delivered? Great question. My inclination is to say, come to Friday's lunch plenary and you'll get to learn all of these details. But I will go ahead and let you know, the scholars participation in the annual scholar meeting is funded through the rec. So it does not come out of your individual program's funding. Thank you very much, NSF, for having that foresight. And it is comprehensive, so their travel, their all-encompassing, given the students we're hoping to bring. And then as far as time of year, TBD, we'll be getting some feedback from you all in Friday's session, but it will likely be sometime in the fall, probably early fall of 2023, but we're still figuring out those details. Tomorrow is technically the launch of our initiative.
Yeah, and Travis will kill me, but you know, if we end up having many more students that want to come, we are open to fund them. So. 100% scholar participation. 100,000 students now.
You ask us such amazing questions when you send us emails. I know they're out there in the audience.
Mike's asking for more questions because he says y'all are such good question askers. I will ask another from our virtual audience. I like the new directions emphasis for STEM grants. Is there an easily accessible set of data from previous STEM projects that support these new emphases? If so, where can I access it?
So that's exactly what the REC is going to do. Yeah, so other than the public abstracts, there is nothing else. So that's one of the RECs. They are going to publish twice in 5 years a synthesis report that will tell us a lot of interesting data and findings about the successful projects, yes.
I see, and we'll quickly answer. There's also a question in here. Several of you are asking about emails for the PIs of the hubs. We will help facilitate that, and we'll respond in the app so that you all can do that. Also, hub PIs, you can respond yourself if you would like to that question and put your email or the email that you would like people to contact for your hub.
Alex, the new emphasis might have been relating to jobs data. So
Oh.
I'm not sure what emphasis meant, but I thought that might be.
You think you want to
Point to
take that?
So is there any elaboration on the emphasis question, Travis, or the question a couple ago? In terms of emphases and the new solicitation, I mean, as Alex said previously, in terms of academic majors, it is open to any major that is currently supported in research by NSF. So that does include things like economics, geography, things that might have been excluded in earlier solicitations. And that is in conjunction with a presentation of analysis of workforce needs at the national and regional level. So if you graduate with a degree in geography, is there a job waiting for you somewhere? And so those two sort of go hand in glove to support the notion that we are pushing scholars out into the STEM workforce, where they will actually land with substantive jobs and salaries and contribute to society.
There's another question about hubs and working with hubs. If an STEM award wants to work with a hub in a more direct way that requires additional funds, can the award apply for a supplement?
Well, everything is possible. So, send us a one-pager and, make sure that the hub knows. And so.
All right, we have two other virtual questions. Audience members, please feel free to come up if you like. The second question here is, how do you know when you are due for a third-year review? Sometimes they happen in fourth year.
Okay. So you are due for a third-year review once you have your third-year anniversary and annual report. But we actually send you probably 3 to 4 months before a series of communications. Particularly if you are a track 3. If you are a track 3, it's a very formal process. We send you, the questions that you have to answer during the Riverside visit, and there is more communications. If you are at track 1 or track 2, you will probably receive just one communication before the PI meeting saying you have to submit a poster and be at the meeting. More than one?
So this time I would say there were, and Iris or Allison can check me on this, there were 2 or 3 things that came from AAAS and 2 messages that came from NSF just regarding what the third-year review process was. So we promise you will definitely hear from us if you're due for the PI meeting. But again, this is not an adversarial process. It's just a chance for you to tell us about all the awesome work you're doing. I want to alleviate any stress that's out there in the audience about third-year reviews. They're fun.
Is the poster session in March open only to STEM scholars or to any science research students?
Poster session?
The poster session in March?
I don't know what poster session in March.
Oh, the one that there's a flyer for on the table.
Oh.
That's a great question. It looks like it's from Science for Humanity. This is not AAAS, just FYI. I'm just as much in the dark.
It's
Who put out flyers? We've got a question for you. They're very pretty looking. I will try to get an answer to that question. Ivory, do you have an answer? No? Yes? Okay. To be determined then. And then we have another question. Is the Scholar plenary, the Scholar annual meeting limited to scholars? Is the Scholar meeting limited to scholars? I think primarily it's not intended for PIs and co-PIs. It is intended for scholars, for their professional development and industry connections. Yeah, to be determined still. So for the Scholar meeting, that is just for scholars. Obviously, there will be presenters and networking opportunities and professional development. But it is not intended for PIs and co-PIs, just if that's the question there. Update from my team. The March meeting on poster sessions is at AAAS's annual meeting, and yes, is open to all students, not just STEM scholars. Thank you, team.
Mini discussion over here. I was going to clarify a little bit about the small group meetings because I saw a number of questions in the Whova app about that. Those are for those third-year reviews. If you were told to do a poster session or invited to do a poster session, you also were invited for the small group meeting. So if you weren't invited, you don't have to worry about that. There's 3 of those. You should be able to find the schedule if you are supposed to go to one or asked to go to one. The schedule's in the app, is that right?
A few people did ask to participate. Anyone who asked to participate in a small group discussion, whether you were invited to or not for your review, is welcome to and should be signed up.
We have 2 funding questions. I'll ask them both so that you all can kind of tackle them both. The first one is around, I see the question, by the way, about the REC considering regional workshops. Again, please come to Friday's lunch plenary. The second part of that question is, can STEM awardees apply for supplemental funding to organize a local workshop? I think the answer to that, again, Alex, is send your program officer a one-pager. Is that right?
Yeah, so you can always, I think that if it is a regional meeting, more than supplemental funding, I think that it's better if you submit a proposal for a workshop or a regional meeting.
A conference.
And those are unsolicited, so you can submit it at any point, and we will send it to review, sometimes internal review, sometimes depending on the budget amount, and we will consider. But always before sending any type of different proposal, make sure you contact your program officer, send them the idea, and make sure that they say yes and before you submit the proposal.
And another question on funding is, when can a program submit a new proposal for a new cycle if they are currently running an STEM project?
Okay, so if it is for the same degrees, so the solicitation says, so let's assume you are doing one for Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. You can only submit another proposal that will benefit students with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science after the third-year report, annual report, has been approved. And that's the rule. Now, the institution can submit for other degrees. but not for the same, cannot be overlap. And the idea is that you don't want to have a student having more than one STEM to apply, right? So they should have only one for their own discipline, but there can be one in each department. You know, it all depends for you, whatever you want to do.
And this is a similar question around funding, but this time for students themselves. Is there any flexibility for students living in high cost of living areas in the country which make it harder for them to be classified as low income? And I believe this is addressed on the FAQs of the STEM website as well. What classifies as low income?
So at the current solicitation, right? At the current solicitation, and I want to emphasize that. If you read the CHIPS legislation, you will see Congress defining low income in different ways. But at the current solicitation, the institution decides what low income is. And then, so that means you get together with the Office of Financial Aid and you decide, maybe it's not a decision, maybe the institution already has definition what it is. In many places, it's Pell eligibility. In other places, it's certain percentile above the poverty line. So depending on what your institution, you have to get together with the financial aid office. So that means the institution decides whether for example, in San Francisco, it could be that it's 300% of the poverty line, while this in other places of the country might be really, not acceptable because that defines a middle class or something like that. So at this moment, that's what we say, the institution defines. That's all. Okay. So any last comments? Mindy? Try once?
I don't need to talk.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. And I wish you a very productive conference.
Thank you all. The opening plenary will be back in this room, and it will start promptly at 5 o'clock. Thank you all.